NCAA basketball totals for Sunday. We're going to take a look at two games on the card today after going 0-3 yesterday. A couple tough losses, though. I'll talk about that in just a second. Just bad days happen. We have an NBA live segment as well today. That's going to be 4 o'clock Eastern, where we'll be talking about the All-Star game, and we'll talk about the totals, maybe a couple props in that matchup. So that should be a real fun one to do. As always, we like to do that NBA live segment, and we'll continue that as soon as the NBA picks back up. So let's talk about yesterday. Well, first, don't forget SBRpicks.com sportsbook review. Definitely some better handicappers than me out there that you got to check out. Still, though, we're looking at 143 and 120 on the season after yesterday. That puts us at 54% on our totals picks for NCAA hoops. So, that's okay. We're still in the profit. We're still up some good units. And just bad days happen. But let's take a close look at that. We had really just one bad call with Charlotte and Northeastern, while West Virginia, Texas Tech had to go to not one overtime, but 2 overtimes to beat our undercall. So I feel pretty good about that. The fact that we made the right call, just got a little bit of tough luck. And then that Arizona-Washington game, we had the over. That was really some tough luck as well, as they scored 60 points in the second half after scoring 84 points in the first half. And more surprisingly than all of that was the fact that Washington at home scored 3 points in the final 4 minutes. I usually don't, complain much about plays if you watch all my videos, but I will recap that yesterday because that's the first time I can remember in a long time where we've gone 0 for the day in NCAA totals. NBA, we've done that quite a bit because it's been a bad year. But in NCAA totals, we usually don't do that. So we just have to suck that up. I have to suck it up because I lost as well. And we're going to continue with the day. We're still at 54%. So let's see if we can bounce back. All right. Enough of that negative stuff. Let's get some positive profits here, and let's get some winners going. All right. First one we got is Connecticut and Temple. 135 set by odds makers. And I'm going to go over this total. I thought this was a fascinating line because the last 2 times they've met, oddsmakers have set the total 127.5 and 128, and that last matchup was just last month, January 11th, when Connecticut winning 73-59. I think Temple's going to be able to score at a better rate at home. So it was 128.5. It went over the total. Didn't get to this total here, 132 the final on that one, but they have it at 135. I think they get there. It's a little bit of a numbers play, but when we start to break these teams down, first of all, Temple's a much better scoring team at home, as we can go ahead. And they played actually some pretty high totals at home. When we look at them, their last few games when they've been at home, except for when they had to play a really, really good SMU team, they had a 159 final, they had a 143 final, they had a 138 final, they had a 143 final. So, the higher totals when Temple plays at home. And I think we're going to see that against Connecticut. They're not quite as good, they're not as good as SMU. SMU is really good. But we look at their averages on the year, okay scoring teams, defense not bad, but not really great. Temple has some nice statistics, but I think Connecticut's going to be able to score. Let's look at what we got going on here. We got Connecticut averaging 66.7 points per game, and they're allowing just 64.8. So, that's pretty good, but they are on the road in this spot against a Temple team that likes to get up and down a bit more than Connecticut. So I think they're going to be able to control the tempo, with Temple averaging just about 71 points per game, but they're allowing 71.3. So I'm expecting Connecticut to go ahead and run with them just a touch tonight as they are on the road. Temple, they're getting up over 59 attempts per game. They're shooting just 42.2% from the field. That's not great, but they're shooting almost 36% from distance. Their efficiency numbers are not that bad. And again, like I mentioned, they play some pretty high totals at home. Defensively, Temple, not great. They're allowing opponents to shoot over 43%. That ranks right in the middle of college basketball. Just kind of a mediocre defense there with Temple. And we got Connecticut so far on the year. They're not really pushing any sort of tempo, averaging just 55.4. That's what we're going to get from Ollie. He's a good defensive coach. We look at their statistics, pretty nice across the board, not bad at all. They're allowing opponents to shoot just 39% from the floor, and that's really solid. However, this is strictly a numbers play for me, where that 135 actually looks a bit too much. Connecticut, not a bad shooting team, 43% from the floor. They're shooting almost 36% from distance. And again, although they don't average a lot of attempts, they actually allow a lot of attempts. So they're getting up just about 55 attempts per game, but they're allowing 58.4. So I don't anticipate for Temple to get bogged down in this matchup. I think they're going to be able to put up some points tonight. That 135, it actually looks a touch low, but I think they get there. So I'm going to go down. I'm going to back over that total. Let's take a quick look, though, while we're breaking these statistics down at that game, because I have some even more reasons, and my computer bugged out on me for a sec, as to why I like this game to go over. So let me go ahead and bring that up. And sorry about that. Okay, here we go. Out of the Big East. So we look at that last matchup. And sorry, not the Big East, the American League. Heavens. Sorry about that. So we got them in the American Conference, of course. Connecticut used to be in the Big East. Temple used to be in the A10. Now they're both in the American. Oh, sometimes when I do these videos, I just mess up. We all make mistakes. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's look at that last game. So something I like about that last game is the fact that Temple shot just 35.9%. And the reason I like that is because they got up 64 attempts. So that shows me that they're going to be able to get up and down tonight now back at home. They shot under 30% from distance. They're going to score more tonight. And Connecticut, I like the fact that they went at a pretty low tempo, just 53 attempts, but their percentages were solid, shooting over 50%. I don't think they'll shoot that well tonight, but I think they're going to shoot well enough, like I mentioned, to go ahead and get over this total. 33% from distance. Pretty clean game. Not a lot of turnovers in that matchup, and they didn't get to the line that much. So it's 132. I really expect them to get closer to 140. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to back over that total. Sorry about the little mistakes there. So you have to be a little forgiving to me on that because everybody makes mistakes. And I don't want to erase this video and do it over. I just want to be genuine, and real. And, sometimes I make mistakes as I'm looking up statistics, but I know Connecticut, Temple, I know the league they're in. Oh, heavens. All right, let's go ahead. Let's look at the next one. We got, hey, I'm hitting 54%. So if I'm messing up a lot here and stuff, just know the winning percentage is there and the profits are there. Just a bad day yesterday. Michigan and Minnesota. This one here, I'm going under the total of 138. These are two underrated defensive teams, especially Michigan. This is going to be a tough spot for them at Minnesota because I like this Minnesota team. They're pretty well coached. They could be playing a little bit better. Right now they're sitting at 19-7, but they're a really good home team. And they're 7-6 in the Big Ten. So the reason I like under this total is, first of all, they're underrated defensively. But let's look at the last time they matched up was last year. And the last couple times we see some totals from the odds makers, 141. That was twice. They went over that total twice. And those were, one at Michigan, one at Minnesota. They put up some points. And I think they're going to be able to do that. You would think they were going to be able to do that tonight. But in fact, I like for the defenses to step up in this matchup. Because when we start to break these two teams down defensively, you're talking about two teams that can really bring it as far as the statistics are concerned. So let me tell you what I mean. Right now, Minnesota, despite their pretty fast tempo, they're allowing opponents just 68.3 points per game. That is solid. And they're allowing opponents just 39.3% shooting. That ranks 14th in the country. And they're 7th and 10th in opponent shooting efficiency and opponent effective field goal percentage. Michigan, not bad at all across the board. They're allowing opponents, well, let me rephrase that. They're not bad scoring defense because of their tempo. They're good in the fact that they don't allow a lot of points because of the pace they really try to force on teams. Unlike Connecticut, now you got a Michigan team, they're getting up 54 attempts per game, but they allow just 52 and a half. On the other game, that Connecticut game, they get up 55, but they allow 58. So that's why I like over the total of that Connecticut game, but not this one. Michigan, they're allowing just 65.2 points per game. Very, very good. Statistically, not great. They're allowing opponents to shoot almost 47% from the floor. They could struggle in this matchup. And I'm going to take a look at that line, actually, and we'll talk about that for just a second. But let me get back to Minnesota defensively. This is a really good defense they got going on. I mean, despite that low scoring average, they do allow a lot of tempo. That's a little bit worrisome, But my goodness, I mean, they're allowing just 24.6 field goals made per game. That's a really good rate considering that they do kind of like to push tempo a little bit, about 60 attempts per game. On the other side of the ball, just the way these matchups work out, you got a Minnesota team that's not very efficient against a Michigan team that is, but it's the opposite defensively. So although Michigan's not that great statistically in their efficiency ratings, Minnesota is just shooting 43% from the field. That brings 230th in NCAA, and they're shooting under 35% from distance. Yeah, that might be a little bit better tonight, but Michigan goes so slow, I think they're going to have trouble. Michigan, on the other side, good scoring team, very efficient, and we're going to get that from a Bayline coach team. They're ninth in efficiency, they're 40th in overall shooting percentage, but again, back to Minnesota, they rank 7th in opponent shooting efficiency and 14th in overall shooting percentage, and 9th allowing opponents just 30% from distance. That's going to be important against a Michigan team that shoots 38% from beyond the arc. Okay, one thing I did want to mention real quick. So I like under the total of that 138 with Michigan and Minnesota, just the way they complement each other on both ends of the floor. Something I want to talk about, though, is that line. So right now, where's this line at? Michigan is a +2 underdog. And that really is a bit surprising considering the fact that they right now are kind of playing some really good basketball. They've won 3 in a row. They beat Michigan State, at Indiana, and then they just beat Wisconsin. Now they're getting to at Minnesota. So that's a game you really might want to look at. And if anything, you might want to look at taking the Gophers in that one at home. I think there's a reason why they're a -2 against a Michigan team that's been playing well for the most part. And, then we look at Minnesota. They have won 4 games in a row, but it's been against lesser competition. So that's a game you really might want to look at taking Minnesota. That's something I'm still going to look at even closer when I finish this video. But for the totals, we like under the 138. All right, let's recap that. I bounced around a lot on that. I treated it like a live segment, and that's good sometimes because then it's more natural, and you understand that, I'm human and I make mistakes sometimes when I'm talking and trying to, make sure we get all the information correct. Connecticut and Temple over the 135, Michigan, Minnesota under the 138. That's it. Those are our 2 plays. We're going to bounce back from yesterday. Still hitting a good rate, so let's see if we can continue and finish up and have a good season all the way till the end of March. And I wish you luck on your picks today.
Research before you bet. Be sure to check out SPR Picks for the best game predictions, breakdowns, and much, much more.